Can I begin by thanking Michael? Michael is an esteemed Australian, a former Federal Attorney General, someone who has expertise in governance issues and in organisational matters, and we were very pleased that Michael took up our invitation to lead this review. This is a comprehensive review. It will be released in full in the spirit of the review into the federal election campaign that we released a month ago. So it will be able to be scrutinised by every party member, so that one of the things that this is about is changing the culture of the New South Wales branch. But to change the culture, you need to change some of the organisational structures. And the recommendations that Michael has put forward have been adopted in full. They will go through a process now where they will go to the next meeting of the New South Wales Administrative Committee in February, and between now and then a series of rules recommendations will be made, and that will go through the ALP National Executive meeting in February, using the plenary powers to impose these rule changes on the New South Wales branch that are about accountability, about transparency, about increasing democracy in the branch, and about ensuring that the mistakes of the past never ever occur again. Can I go through just a couple of the matters? The new State Executive Board. That is a very important review. It will be responsible for the administration of the branch, and the New South Wales Administrative Committee will continue to play a role in political issues. As a part of that, there will be a new Audit and Risk Committee, including 4 independent members, potentially selected from outside the party to provide an additional check and balance. The reform of the way that the General Secretary and the 2 Assistant Secretaries operate, and their accountability as well. We also have a recommendation that the General Secretary will be barred from seeking elected office for 5 years from the date of their appointment as General Secretary. These reforms, these structural reforms, will ensure that the New South Wales branch never again commits the sort of mistakes that we have seen led to embarrassment for ordinary party members about the activities that have occurred in recent years. These are vital reforms. They have my support, and I'd ask Jody to make some comments.
Thank you, Anthony. Can I also just thank Professor Michael Levart for the work he has done on this report. Before I make some comment as the State Leader, I do want to also acknowledge, and Anthony and I were just discussing this, the very difficult circumstances being experienced right across New South Wales right now as a result of the bushfires. We know that from the south coast all the way through to the border, we are experiencing very, very difficult circumstances. Now, I think both of us would rather not be talking about this right now, but we made a commitment to you that we would come back before Christmas with the interim report, which is what is before you now. As I said, Michael, I want to thank him for the work he has done. This is a good report. It is about sweeping changes to our party. When Anthony and I announced this initially, we said that we wanted to let the sun shine in, that there were significant cultural issues within our head office, and I believe that this report will address many of those. It is a report that is detailed. There were more than 420 submissions received from our party membership, and that was during a short period of time. So I want to thank all our party members who participated in this process as well. Their feedback has been included within this report. This report doesn't hold back. It clearly outlines some of the challenges that we face as a party, and then recommendations that are real and meaningful that will be implemented today. So the Administrative Committee of our party has met this morning. They've adopted all the recommendations, and now we set about making those changes within the party structure. Can I also just reiterate the points that Anthony has made in regard to the key issues contained in this report. The General Secretary, for the first time, will have a position description and key performance indicators. They will be accountable. There will be transparency around the job that they do, and importantly, if they don't do that job, then they can be sacked. We have had a difficult time in the past, and I think what the events of ICAC showed is that we needed to have a mechanism in place that when the General Secretary didn't perform, didn't meet the expectations of our party, that they could be released from that role. Under these recommendations, they can be. The General Secretary can be sacked by the State Executive Board and the Administrative Committee. The State Executive Board is incredibly important because what it does is ensure that we have a focus on compliance and risk. It is all about governance. So that has been removed from the Administrative Committee and is now in the hands of the State Executive Board. Importantly, and Michael will go into the details of this, there will be an Audit and Risk Committee. And what I like about this report is it also indicates that they do not have to be members of our party. In fact, it would be my preference that they're not members of our party, but they are skill-based. So we've got the checks and balances through this entire process that we have been missing as a political party. I am so pleased that this report is being completed. It's an interim report. Of course, as Anthony said, the rules are now being drafted. It will go to the Administrative Committee in February, and then we've got the final report that Michael will present to us in the future. That report will deal with things like our labour action committees, which is like the Chinese Friends of Labour. So it will deal with issues such as that. But this is a really good report. It's comprehensive. It answers the questions that we needed resolved. And from this report, we will let the sunshine into our head office. It's professionalising our office, and I am thrilled with what this report contains. And I want to thank Michael for making sure that this was done quickly. It's comprehensive, and the recommendations and reforms are certainly sweeping. So thank you to you, Michael, and I think we'll hand over to you to elaborate.
Well, thank you very much. Excuse me, Albo and Jody. What I found was that there was a significant gap between the culture and the aspirations of Labor members and the culture and the performance of the head office of the New South Wales branch. It was clear that the branch did need significant reform, and it needed to overcome the problems that it had been facing over a number of years once and for all. I'd like to think that the structures, the guiding principles and the changes which I've recommended, and I'm delighted to learn are going to be accepted, will place the branch with a foundation which its party members can be proud of, and will support the parliamentary parties in terms of their campaign to have Labor values and Labor policies adopted in the state and nationally. In terms of the major recommendations, there are essentially two themes which run through the structural changes that have been proposed. The first is that there has to be a clear separation between the management of the office and the oversight of the office. The way in which some of the structures had been constituted was not leading to this clarity of management and oversight. That will be overcome through the establishment of the new structures, the State Executive Board, in which the senior managers of the party, that is the General Secretary and the two assistant State Secretaries, will report to but will not be a member of. We will no longer have the case of management overseeing themselves, which was a fundamental weakness in the way in which the party had been structured. This board, which will have a majority of skill-based members with expertise in law, organisational culture, in risk management, in finance, will be able to ensure that the party's operation in terms of all its public regulatory obligations, be those financial obligations or obligations which flow from the public funding of political parties or come from the regulation of fundraising and the requirement to disclose donations, is being conducted in accordance with the law and indeed in terms of best practice. And this will be a significant change to ensure that this oversight and assurance can be given. The further change is the development of the Audit and Risk Committee, made up of 4 independent members, that is completely independent of the management of the branch, people not holding any state position whatsoever in terms of the Labor Party, not involved with any organisation providing any services to the state party. Again, highly skilled, a forensic organisation which essentially will be an internal probity auditor in the way in which the branch operates. Importantly, I've recommended, and it's been accepted, that this committee will be authorised to go directly to the regulator, to the relevant regulator, if suspected illegalities are occurring which the branch fails to deal with. And this will be a standard which will place the New South Wales branch of the Labor Party some distance ahead of any other political organisation, not only in this state, but in this country. The second major theme that runs through is the separation of political administration and political decision-making from the regulatory oversight and compliance obligations of the party. The Administrative Committee will remain, but its focus will be solely on political administration, party pre-selections, election preparation, election reviews and the like. All of the obligations in terms of ensuring that returns are made to the Electoral Commission, that all of the requirements in terms of the corporations law, in terms of the financial operations of the party, all of those matters will go down the path of the State Executive Board and the Audit Committee. So this division between the responsibility for the political side of the organisation and all its regulatory and compliance sides is a fundamental reform. Again, it gets rid of the confusion and it removes the opportunity for there to be a confusion between management and the day-to-day running of things such as fundraising and the oversight and the scrutiny that is occurring according to law and according with the best practices in terms of the way in which a political operation should operate. There will be significant change to the position and the operation of the General Secretary. The party needs a CEO. The CEO needs to be appropriately empowered to run the organisation. But what the party has lacked has been a proper definition of what the role is, proper delegations from the higher levels of the party down from the conference and cascading down to the General Secretary, and then delegations between the General Secretary and the senior management team of the organisation, the 2 assistant General Secretaries and the other senior officers, paid officers in the organisation. I've also made recommendations in terms of things such as risk management, business continuity, delegations, registers of interest. These are all important reforms. Finally, I've recommended a change into the power and the authority of the party president to be an appropriate oversight of the General Secretary and the senior management of the organisation. The party president plays a unique role, sort of a combination, if you like, between a chair of a board and the Speaker of the Parliament. And just as the Speaker needs to be independent from the executive government, there needs to be an important independence of the President from the management of the organisation. And this will be enhanced both through changes around the job description, the authority and the delegation given to the President, but importantly, that the method of appointment for the President needs to be different from that of the secretarial level. And I'm pleased to say that that's been accepted through a recommendation that the President be elected by a 75% majority of the State Conference. This means that no one factional grouping will be able to determine the presidency. The President will need to have the broad support across the groupings in the party, and as a result have that additional level of authority in terms of the oversight role that you expect a chair of a board to be able to play to a CEO. All of these changes collectively will position the party in this state to operate lawfully, to operate ethically, to focus its resources to the Labor aspiration of advancing our causes amongst the public policy debate and to help get Labor governments elected. These are good reforms, and I'm delighted that the party has accepted them.
Mr Albanese, the State Executive Board, will that be made up of union leaders or union officials as the Administrative Committee is currently? And how many people will be on that board?
The State Executive Board will comprise of 9 members. 4 of the members will consist of the party president and the 3 party vice presidents. That's 4 of the 9. The other 5 members will be selected on a completely skills matrix basis. And to ensure that, each of those persons will be elected requiring a 75% vote by the State Administrative Committee. So this, the State Executive Board, well, can be members of the party. I would expect them to be members of the party. The Audit and Risk Committee, which reports into the board, is a 4-person committee, and they will have those characteristics of independence I outlined before.
Yeah. If you're asking will it be business as usual, no.
So we will. So the process today was the Administrative Committee considered the recommendations, accepted them in full. The rules that will see those come into place will now be drafted. I would expect that that will go to the Administrative Committee again in February, and it's important we begin the process of electing a General Secretary. Yes.